So today we're going to speak about something which I spoke about a little bit in passing yesterday. So I mentioned that there were 6 spokes of the society, 6 aspects which help to create a strong society, and also which I didn't mention, these 6 spokes, they create what is known as the collective psychology of the society. The collective psychology of the society. So there are 3 ingredients, of 6 ingredients that will build a healthy society. So one of the ingredients is called socio-economic, social outlook. Social outlook, how humans treat others. How they do? They treat others like some are on top, some are slaves, or some people in our community, we're all brothers, and some people in another community, we're not brothers and sisters. So what kind of outlook is the best for humans? In the earliest writings of the Nanda Baba called something, he was called Universalism. Like, there are different kind of isms. Nationalism, and there's racism. In India, there's something which we don't use the word much here. It's called communalism, and that means like a community. It could be like a caste community or different. It can be a religious community also. Religious community. So there are different isms, or what it means is that people have a certain radius of mind which accepts others. In the very beginning of the human society, people used to gather in clans, and they would live on top of hills. The hill, in Sanskrit, called Gotra. The clan is called the Gotra. They would meet on the hills, and then the people on this hill would, maybe be at war with the people of that hill. They throw stones. So that was the primitive state. Now it's not much better. The people in this place, we throw, we have the atomic missiles ready to throw at the other. So humanity has not really progressed very much in the intervening 15,000 years. And the reason for that was because they couldn't get this wide viewpoint to include everybody. Instead of just these people on this hill are ours, and why not all the hills? Why not the whole earth? Why not the whole universe? That's what universalism means, that everyone of the universe belongs to one family. So this was the general concept. It was from the earliest time in the Nanda literature. But in 1982, Baba gave a series of essays or discourses which compiled in a book called Liberation of Intellect. Liberation of Intellect. Subtitle, Neohumanism. So this is a deeper understanding of how to achieve universalism. That's what really Neohumanism is about. How can we achieve this viewpoint where we have a radius that's 360 degrees, and where we accept all members of the human family, and as we will see, of the non-human family as part of one, without differentiation, without walls. So this is what the field of Neo-Humanism is about. So the term Neo-Humanism is important. Traditionally, humanism was an idea which arose as a reaction to religion, especially the religion of the Middle Ages. And in that religion, the idea was that God is the measure of all things, and that God is the most important, And human life is not, you know, it's not really so important as compared to what's in the heaven. What's on earth is not as important as what goes into heaven. So if you walk into a medieval cathedral, how do you feel? You feel very small because it's huge, and it's like that was the kind of architecture was made for an idea. There's an idea there that you people are small and there's something vast. And so the human existence lost some of its glory in that way. And what's in heaven is important, what's on the earth is not so important. So, and then of course there were many abuses of the religions of the Middle Ages, of all over the world, in the East and in the West. In the East, in the West, priests used to say, okay, you're a sinner, you're going to go to heaven, but if you pay me some money, it's called sales of indulgences. You know, this was one of the reasons for the Protestant Reformation, because these kind of corruptions were going on. In other places, it was also like that. So as a reaction to religion, some people said, no, we're not going to speak about God, that man is the measure of all things. Humans are what count, and that's what's called humanism. And if you meet people today who call themselves humanists, they're usually atheists, most like humanists, like people like you see a humanistic fellowship or something like that. So that was traditional humanism is more or less was associated with atheism. It was not spiritual. So neo-humanism, here's the difference. Neo-humanism is a spiritually based humanism. There's one difference. And the second thing about humanism, which Baba calls ordinary humanism is only concerned about mostly about humans. But now, you know, like the human consciousness has changed a lot. And for instance, let's say 30 or 40 years ago, if you mentioned animal rights, people would laugh at you. Human rights, yeah, that was what humanism talked about, human rights, UN Declaration of Human Rights. But animal rights, that people would have laughed. Certainly 40 years, maybe 40, maybe 50 years certainly, yes, people would laugh at you. But now nobody's laughing. Yeah, there are rights. There are even in certain countries, you know, I remember Sweden has some very strong protections about farm animals. And so animals have rights even. People are willing to accept that. So it's an expansion of consciousness. So neo-humanism is ecologically, it's spiritually based and ecologically grounded. You can say it's grounded in ecology. It's grounded in the idea that all living beings, and even inanimate objects, have their place, and they should be treated with love and respect. So humanism meant that I will give my love, I will give my respect, I will respect the rights of other humans. And neo-humanism says, I will also respect even the plants, the animals, the inanimate creatures. They're also part of my family. So that's why this is that's why he had to add neo. Neo means new, it means a revived form. You know, that's what we say, you know, when people say, oh, it was neo this, neo that. It means it's coming back again and it's revived. You know, it's in a new, slightly different form, and it's a revived form. That's what people use this word, neo. So neo-humanism came to save humanism from just being a narrow kind of reaction. It saves it from that. It's not a narrow reaction. And the spiritual aspect of it actually is not something tacked on to neo-humanism. But we tack it on. We have humanism and we add some spirit. Actually, humanism itself depends on spirituality, and this we're going to look at. So, that could be the first part of it. That humanism and neo-humanism depends on a spiritual viewpoint. And the idea here is that for humans, humans are not satisfied with a little bit. They want something great. And that's why you can't just put humans in a cage and even if you feed them and stuff, but then you close their mind is closed. And you don't think this, don't think that. People will revolt, and that was why communism in Eastern Europe ended in a twinkle of an eye, because it was unnatural. People want to expand their minds. But people, knowingly or unknowingly, they want something deep. There's a treasure in their heart which shouldn't be suppressed, and that treasure is the love of God, the love of the Supreme. That's the most fundamental treasured feeling. And that love is also called devotion. And when the philosophy of the world comes into conflict with that innermost, it's called the inner asset, it's the innermost tenderest feeling. And when the philosophy of the world comes into conflict with this tender feeling, then humans feel uneasy and they suffer. And so Neo-Humanism is trying to create a world philosophy or a situation where that tender feeling will not be suppressed and people will feel at ease. So this is one aspect of spirituality and its place in Neo-Humanism, but I'm going to talk about more as we go deeper into the subject. So before I said that the idea is that we should achieve some kind of a universal outlook. A universal outlook means that we will accept others as part of our family and give respect and honor to all kinds of people, whatever their racial, religious, linguistic background, or what they look like, or whether they come from the Earth, or they come from the Mars, or Venus, or planet surrounding the star of Vega, or something like that we would accept all as part. But why don't we? What is it that keeps humans from reaching this layer of this state of being? So this is one of the key elements, and especially of this book, Liberation of Intellect. Why don't we like someone who speaks a different language and has a different religion and come from a different place? Why? What's holding us up? What is the problem? So, what's holding us up is that there are certain tendencies within humans. Sometimes it's innate, sometimes it's imposed by the culture, but there are certain tendencies. And in the Liberation of Intellect, there's 3 very important tendencies which are analyzed. The first one has to do with geography. So people have an attachment for the place where they live. It's kind of a natural thing. The place where we live, we call it our home. And we say it's our homeland. It's the best place. So we sometimes make it better than it is, even we fantasize about it. And people are ready to fight over that. So this is called the Geo-Sentiment. What is a sentiment? A sentiment is like a feeling that you have. It may or may not have a rational, like you say, yeah, I like that. I don't know why, I just like it. So sentiment is like that. It's often blind. But here it's a geographic sentiment. So I'm attached to my city, my state. Like in Texas, the Lone Star is everywhere. There's a very strong state sentiment. In other places, they don't have that sentiment.
I saw a Lone Star on the street out there.
Yeah. Maybe it's a transplanted Texan. So it's a very strong sentiment. Our state, best state, everything. like that, you know. And then it goes to country. It could be just a town, you know, our town, we don't like that guy, the guys from the neighboring town, we don't know. It can even be, it's like this, you know, even a farmer will fight over every inch of this territory, you know, oh, you're using 1 inch of my land here, you know, it could become a big fight. So the attachment to geographic space is huge. And sometimes it's just fun, but it's no more fun when it becomes Geo-Patriotism. We say the fatherland and the motherland has been attacked. You know, we have Geo-Religion. We say, yeah, three faiths are fighting. Jerusalem belongs to us. Jerusalem belongs to us. You know, like this kind of thing. And the time when the temple in Ayodhya and the Muslims say, no, this is a Muslim place, and then the Hindus say, no, Ram was born here, and they start, and blood is spilled over a piece of earth, not even a big piece of earth. So Geo-Religion, even there's Geo-Economics. Basically, in the Middle Ages, when the commercial revolution happened, when this whole idea of mercantilism, and the Spanish said, yeah, we're going to bring all the gold from the New World here. He will cut off the people's noses, which they did, and ears, if you don't bring gold. That's what Columbus did. So they said, we'll bring all the, we don't care what happens there, you know, it's what here is what counts. So this Geo-Sentiment becomes extremely dangerous for humans, and wars have been fought over it, and much misery. So how could it be overcome? The Geo-Sentiment. The Geo-Sentiment is usually not founded on rationality. So people politicians who were working with this Geo-Sentiment, they will say, they will try to make the night day and the day night. They say, yeah, our country is the most beautiful country. We're self-sufficient in food, yet they're maybe importing food, you know, and so many other defects are there, but they say, no, this is a glorious land. So the way to strike down the Geo-Sentiment is through study and rationality. And not only rationality, rational mentality, rational thinking. I'll give one example in the book, which is quite interesting. Of course, it goes with birds, you know, and you can't fault a bird for, you know. So suppose a bird is flying over some place. Then he sees like our yard here. Then he sees some rice. He says, oh, this looks like a nice dinner. And he goes down. But then when he goes down, he immediately is a trap. The bird is caught. So that's because it's just a sentiment. It's just a blind thing. Rice is there, I gotta eat it. He's caught. But if that bird had the capacity to think, it's strange, this is a populated area, and then there's all these rice is there. That's a strange thing to see that there. I should be aware. This could be, no, but they don't have that kind of mentality, you know, rational mentality to look at he's hungry, he plunges in, he's caught, finished. And humans are like that too. Sometimes they go into something they never thought, you know. Like, what is this politician telling us? You know, we're all going to be killed. For what? But because people don't have the rational mentality. So they have to have study, they have to have facts. And then when they have this, then they will understand the limitations of Geo-Sentiment. It can be overcome. Geo-Sentiment can be overcome, but it needs information. And that's what's happening in this world, because this world, it's very difficult to keep information out. You can go on the internet and go on Facebook, you go on here, you go on there, you'll find out that this guy, he's telling the politician is a liar. So, Geo-Sentiment. Then there's another sentiment which is more difficult to deal with. This is the attachment that people have for their group. It's a group feeling, not limited to a locale here. It has to do with a particular group. And this is called Socio-Sentiment. The social sentiment. For instance, let's say someone's in a particular religion, and he finds a co-religionist. He could be from Mexico, he could be from Canada, from France, but the same religion. Oh yeah, we're brothers. They form part of a group, but that group is not geographically bound. It's a group of people according to a certain classification of people. It can be a linguistic group. Like there's even an association of the Francophone countries, the French-speaking countries. Sometimes there's linguistic sentiment. Some communities are divided on linguistic lines, and they belong to the same nation, but then they have linguistic thing, or there can be some cultural thing. So in Canada, there's French-speaking Canadians, there are English-speaking Canadians. There are two groups, there are two social groups, and there can be a problem. So the socio-sentiment. Racism is sometimes really comes under that also. It's people of this color of skin, we're together, people of that color of skin. It's social. It's a social. It's not bound by geography. And this is more difficult. The social ties. It's more difficult to change. Facts won't solve the problem. If you give some information, it doesn't work. So here, Baba offered two solutions here. One is called the principle of social equality. And in Sanskrit, you have to know it. Sama, Samaj, Tattva. Sama means together, Samaj means a society, Tattva means a theory or factor. There's a theory. Or principle in this case. The principle of social equality. So what people have to cultivate, they have to cultivate, there are two tendencies in people. One is, some people live for selfish pleasure. It's called Atma, Sukha, Tattva, the selfish pleasure principle. We have it in ourselves sometimes. Yeah, I'm going to eat the whole cake. Remember I gave this example of the person, the cake comes out, and whether you're going to cut it into parts and share it with other, many people live just for their own selfish pleasure. But another possibility is that we think about the welfare of all. We think for the welfare of all. So when people start to think more and more for the welfare of all, then they break down these social barriers, and they come out of that sentiment. So that's what this principle of social equality. So principle of social equality is, instead of thinking for my selfish pleasure, I will think about everyone, and I will include. I will try to do my best so that everybody enjoys, not just I'm going to enjoy. So this is called the Samaj Tattva. And then, still it's not enough. There's like stereotypes, and it's bedded deep within us, and we feel the distrust of people from another race or something like that because we, people who are different from us. And so it's harder to overcome. I'm reminded of something. This is a little maybe an interlude. It's an excursion. Maybe it doesn't belong in this class. After the 9/11, so they had this big concert from New York. All these people. It's a very good DVD. I recommend it if you ever want to see it. Really good entertainment. So there's Billy Crystal. So he said, he got very serious. He said, "You see, after 9/11 now, we have to be concerned, we have to maybe have different feeling towards people who are not the same as us." Very, very solemn moment. Then said, "Yeah, I'm talking about people from New Jersey." That's a New York kind of joke anyway. But anyway, getting back here, is that if it's very hard actually to go out of the stereotype and to really live this, to really that humans become one. It's very, very difficult. The linguistic things and racial things is very difficult. And the only way is through what Dada calls proto-spiritual. He calls it proto-spiritual. I forget what he calls it, spiritual practice or spiritual feeling, proto-spirituality. What does proto mean? Like prototype, it's flickering. It's flickering. He used the word flickering. So, we try to meditate. We're only trying because it's very hard to keep the psycho-spiritual parallelism very long. You have it and you don't have it. You have it. It's flickering. But this proto-spirituality, and you try and you keep doing that spiritual practice. That is really what can help people, to overcome Socio-Sentiment and the next one, which I'm going to talk about.
So, principle of social equality and proto-spirituality?
And spirituality, these two things. He called it proto, but it's really spirituality, spiritual practice. These are the two things. Principle of social equality. And we should avoid the principle of selfish pleasure, which is Atma Sukha Tattva. Atma Sukha Tattva. Atma. Sukha Tattva. Atma Sukha Tattva. So that's selfish pleasure. We have to avoid that and think for the good of others. So, and for spirituality and socio-sentiment, spirituality and the principle of social equality and the outcome social sentiment. Then there's another sentiment. So I said Geo-Sentiment, Socio-Sentiment, then it's humanistic or ordinary humanism. Ordinary humanism. So what is ordinary humanism? Ordinary humanism is this humanism which really is actually the lip service of humanism. It's like in one way it's lip service. That there are many people who use the slogans of humanism. They say we want peace, we want brotherhood. internationalism. They use the slogan, so usually wherever politicians say those things, they mean the opposite. I remember that when they had this Russian premier, his name is Brezhnev. He goes, we want peace, peace. You become more frightened when you hear that from this guy. And then when Hungary revolted in 1956, the Russians said, yes, we have to help our socialist brothers, this, in the name of internationalism and socialist brotherhood. That's why we're doing. And the same, on the West too, we have all kinds of slogans too, They, under Kennedy and Johnson, they had this thing called the Alliance for Progress in South America. The U.S. is going to help South America, but
or in the Middle East too.
Yeah,
democracy and
always democracy. World War I, we're going to make the world safe for democracy. There's a nice cartoon there in Human Society. It says, we're going to make the world safe for capital investment. That's over there. Wherever capitalism investment isn't threatened, we'll go over there. But all the slogans in the name of humanism, of peace, solidarity, brotherhood. So this is ordinary humanism. It's a lip service of humanism. And the reason why it's only a lip service of humanism is because there is no real love behind it. If there was real love behind it, then people wouldn't say things and then do the other thing. They would really mean it and do it. So, and why isn't there any love? Because, and here's a direct quote from the book on Liberation of Intellect, there is no perennial source of inspiration. Did you see Amal's class in the retreat?
Which?
On
Neohumanism.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sure he mentioned this. Perennial source of inspiration. So what does that mean? Perennial source of inspiration means that to love others and then to do good for others, it's not something you read in a book one day, or something your teacher taught you. It's something you feel, and you constantly feel, and then you constantly do it. And the only way that you can get that perennial source of inspiration is through spiritual practice. And here it comes again. So the spiritual practice provides the perennial source of inspiration. And with that, then humanism can become real. But until that happens, mostly it's false. Whatever people say in the name of humanism, you can run. If they say peace, you better run, you better take cover, because they mean war. And they say brotherhood, it doesn't mean that. Maybe it's brotherhood for some, but not brotherhood for others. So it's like that. So this is the defect of ordinary humanism, one defect. Then the second defect is that it doesn't have anything to say about the plants and the animals. The plants and animals. Now, regarding the plants and animals, humans have an approach. Our approach is that where we find something useful to us, then we take good care of it. If a cow is giving milk to us, we take care. People will take care. The cow becomes a little old, can't give milk anymore. It's sent off to become a hamburger, where the care is gone. Because we're only considering the utility value. That's called utility value of the cow. And then there's some creatures who don't have any utility value to us, and we will kill them immediately. They have no utility value. But animals which have some utility value, we preserve their existence. But there's another kind of value which Neohumanism recognizes, and that's called existential value. Existential value. means that that creature values its own existence. Every creature does. That's part of the, all creatures, no creature wants to die. That's part of the, what makes a living being a living being. Everyone wants to live. Even humans and worms and insects, everybody, all of those creatures, they don't say, okay, kill me, I'm ready to go. No, everybody wants to stay in this world. That cow, which is a little bit aged now, doesn't give milk, also still wants to remain in this world. It has an existential value. Its own existence gives it value to itself. It may not give utility value to the human. So humans have to consider the existential value, not only utility value of creatures, and they should preserve creatures. So that means it's the ecology. It's the whole ecology. And anyway, many things which we destroy because it has no immediate utility value. By destroying those things, we actually disturb the ecology of the earth. We actually disturb our own existence without knowing it. You know, people have chopped down forests, then floods come. Oh yeah, we did a mistake. And they chopped down the forest, climate change. Oh yeah, we made a mistake. So when people have a wider concept of humanism and they include it, and they include other creatures as part of their kinship and family, and they include the existential value of creatures. So it means there's some creatures that don't have, it seems like they don't have any value to us, but they want to exist, and they also have value to the whole cosmos. You know, if any creature is removed, it has an effect. So neo-humanism expands humanism so that people can become, in the fullness of the universe, they can become a proper member of this planetary system. So this is what we want to do is we want to achieve this within humanity. But it's not being achieved because people are consciously going against these principles of neo-humanism. The people are conscious, they're aware, either for selfish pleasure reasons or other diabolical reasons, people are against it. So there's some people who fight against it. Some people say they use like humanism maybe on the outwards, but they say, oh, we want change, but they don't want change. There's some people who are called vocal revolutionaries. Vocal revolutionaries. Only a voice. And some people, not even that, they're reformists. They want reform. They don't want to make fundamental change. And some people say, yeah, we want fundamentals, but they only want it in their voice. And another thing, I was just reading before I got in here, one kind of guy with a socialist bent of mind. So he went to see the Batman movie, the new Batman movie. You know, so he said it's terrible, not because it's just like it gives people very bad values of now everyone is wondering about the killing that took place, but movies like that is what would give the terrible values that cause incidents. But more than that, he said that there are social ideas that are very defective in that movie. So we have what's called the pseudo culture. This is a very important concept. This is also mentioned in this book, Liberation of Intellect, and you should read that section about pseudo culture. So this is one of the reasons why these kind of destructive ideas are maintained, whether it be racist or ideas or the ideas of against human nature or whatever. Because there's a pseudo culture, and the pseudo culture basically what it is doing is that it's keeping people passive. So in Roman times, they had this thing, like I told you yesterday, that one of the defects of the Roman society was it was based on slavery, and just a very elite class would rule and others toiling. But how they maintained that was through what they call bread and circuses. You might have heard that phrase if anyone took world history. Bread and circuses. And what was bread and circuses? You give the people enough food, and then you give them something to divert their mind. The circus, that was, in ancient times it was the circus, some animals and gladiators and stuff like this. And just everybody gives them some beer, give them some alcohol, and they don't do anything. So today we don't have the circuses, but we have pseudo culture, and the pseudo culture is giving false values, glorifying violence, glorifying all kinds of things, not good habits, and people then get in stupor. Yeah, I'm going to go see this, and then you dance, just to some music will have nothing in there for their mind, no food for their mind, and they will drink, and then they will go out, and there's no more revolution. Nobody's going to talk about revolution. We just have dope, sex, and cheap thrills, like that. That's what it is. But so it's the pseudo culture which is doing that, and so that's why proper artists have to make a real culture which will make people aware of who they are, what their responsibility is, and what humanity can be. So this is, then there's one more thing which is very interesting in this book. One of the most interesting passages of the book is this. He says that when humans start to overcome these sentiments, when their spiritual practice gets strong, what will happen is this collective psychology, which I mentioned before, will become so strong. It will become so strong that nobody will be able to just come and give these false slogans and false ideas, destructive concepts. People will not accept it anymore. The human psychology, the collective psychology, will not accept it any longer. So that a neo-humanistic age will come, and it'll be because the human psychology, collective psychology, will become so strong. So this is the future of humanity. So it's going to be a neo-humanistic future. So I recommend you read every page of that book, Liberation of Intellect, and go through it. And then, of course, we have to practice it. That's the important point of it, is learn it, and then practice the spiritual practice, and put the neo-humanism into action, and then to help teach others that, and to wake people up from the sleep of the pseudo-culture, and wake people up from the false promises of either the Reformists, the vocal revolutionaries, and the ordinary humanists who are giving these slogans and destroying humanity in the process, destroying the planet. The planet is being destroyed. So it's a very, very important work, is to implement neo-humanism. Anyway, this is what I understood about neo-humanism.